was where, beginning of the First World War, there were a lot of people from Belgium and that came to live in Sheffield, so they built these camps for them. And they didn't like them, so they absconded. So what they did, they put all Sheffield people in them.
Where are they?
My grandfather.
If you're looking at Wincobank Hill from Earl Marshall Road, is that on the...
Give it Earl Marshall, I know Earl Marshall Road.
Where it dips down into there's the main road, what's that?
The one going from Pittsmore, Thirdale to Meadowhall.
Ah, Earl Marshall, I'm with you now. I'm with you near Page Hall.
Let's just say something about the project, because Derek was saying he's not so keen on being filmed, but we can use he'll see what he thinks, but we might use it a verbal kind of like radio interview.
Okay.
So we've been doing it. It's mainly a project funded by the Heritage Lottery, and it was some young primary school teacher, and I was working with
which school in Sheffield?
I work with young people who are excluded from school a lot of the time. You know, who are struggling at school, and they go to like when they're not you know, when they're not going to school that well. I used to work at Maple Springs School a long time ago. But the project was. Do you want to start there?
No, even I can remember her name.
So you went to Wincobank,
and I can remember who was sat opposite me. A girl, Josie Mason. She was opposite me. The same people that you started school with in them days, you left 10 years later.
So you go
the same, all that class there, and from infant to junior to senior, but it was all in one school, not like they have now, of course.
Do you want to start with introducing yourself and just tell us what the school was? And
my name is Derek Sanderson. I was born in Wincobank, 1937. I went to school when I was 4.5, something like that. And, I stayed there around 1952, where I went to work. From there I went to work.
So you were at school throughout the Second World War?
Yes, I was. If you ask me questions, I'm trying to ask me some questions and I'll answer. You understand?
Yeah. All right.
What's the thing that stands out in your memory on the first day at school?
At school, I was taken by my mother. Went into a classroom, introduced to Miss Seeger, a name that stands out. She took my hand, sat me down at the side of these other children at this long table, and my education began there.
Were you the oldest? Was your brother or sister older than you?
No. My sister was 18 months, 2 years older than me. She was 2 or 3 classes in front. You got through school not by your skill or you were clever, but just simply by your age. There were classes for schools 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and so on, for 10 years, leaving in 52.
Is there anything,
Easter.
I'm just wondering if there's anything like from those school days that stands out
Yes, I can.
in your memory.
Yes, I can. I can remember walking through, and the first thing I looked at was a big poster. And this poster was all bombs, mechanical devices that you must not touch, i.e. grenades, shrapnel, cluster bombs, everything to do with war. Plus, we had a gas mask outside.
Yeah.
We'd been issued by the government with a gas mask. The only thing that was free, rest had to buy. Then in school, Miss Seeger, I can remember, real big, huge woman, no nonsense, clip round the legs or whatever if you stood out the line. No lip. If you talked back, you were guaranteed you wouldn't talk back for a few weeks. and this discipline was given to me for 10 years at that school, i.e. the cane, slipper, I would say, and when I got to the age of 11, I think it was 11, 12, I took an exam. This time, if I passed this exam, I would go to a grammar school. We had 2 exams, one for arithmetic, they called it then, and the other was for English. Not being very good on arithmetic, obviously I didn't pass this exam. I was a bit better on English, but I still didn't pass. And very few people passed. Maybe one. If you got 2 in one class passed, you've done exceptional. But we had to stay at the school while we were 15. Then we was told we had to find a job.
Can you tell us a bit about your first day at work and what
At
that
work,
job
yes,
was?
I can.
Where it was, what it was, and how it felt.
I got a job painting at the British Steels on Brightside Lane. Which I stayed there for maybe 5-6 months. I didn't like the works, so I got out of it.
What didn't you like about it? Can you tell
Well,
us?
everybody I knew worked in the steelworks, relied on the steelworks for a living, and I didn't want that. I didn't want the smell of oil or smoke, filth, and I didn't like being in factories with walls. I couldn't stand walls, and I wanted to see sky and grass. So I got apprenticed to be a painter and decorator, which I served while I was 18. Then, having had enough and wanted to change, I had to join the army.
In those days, did you have to join the
Have
army?
to, national service. You have to join the army.
And what did they do with you?
But you know, took me for some, 15 weeks. Then they carried on serving for 2 years.
Was that out of Sheffield?
It was in Ireland,
Okay.
at the very beginning of all the problems that they had.
Where were you about? Can you say, or is it top secret?
What in? No, I was in a place called Hollywood. Would you believe? It's anything but Hollywood. And that's it. And then I did 2 years, came out, and went back to finish my apprenticeship off, which you had to do.
Where did you do your apprenticeship, and what did it feel like? What were the kind of memories of that apprenticeship?
Apprenticeships, going going to people's houses who were comparatively plenty of money, out in the suburbs, nice houses.
Can you remember any in particular? Because it'd be great to tie
Somebody's house?
Yeah, can you remember? Because we could tie and maybe find a picture of it and tie this to the...
Oh, I doubt it.
Okay.
I doubt it, we're not.
What was the best place you ever painted and decorated?
Up to, are you on about? Up to a certain age or all through my life?
All through your life.
Well, when I got out of my apprenticeship, I went to travel up and down England and Scotland and Wales. And I've been travelling and doing it ever since. Up to 56, 7, and I retired. Off my own bat. Retired for 2 years. Then I started doing a bit more work. And I still, no, I shouldn't really say that, no. And then I've retired. I still do a bit when need be. Right, anything else you want to know?
No, that's about...
Just keep talking.
Well, yeah.
What I've done, what I've done with my life.
Yeah.
I've
What about family things? What have you touched on?
family. I'd got 6 sisters and 2 other brothers. Do you want to know about them?
Yes, I do, yeah.
It's
In a
interesting to know
house.
what it's like to grow up in a house.
In the house. The house was a back-to-back house, which do you know about?
Yeah.
Court houses and back-to-back houses.
Yeah, I've seen them on the maps. There's not many left,
yeah,
are there?
yeah. They're not very nice places. Courthouses, you used to call them. You go down the main street, turn up an entry, and you're into a yard where a number of houses.
What was the address? Because we might be able to find it on our maps. We've got a map of Sheffield in there.
Oh, yeah. Mine was 16 Court 10. 6 Court 10, I beg your pardon, 6 Court 10.
Off what road is that then?
Barrow Road.
Barrow.
It's
Oh.
now flattened.
They'll be on this map then.
There's a little bit of history. From our front door, 20 yards, there was a firm that had I didn't know what it was, only heard the noise and the bang. And it was a firm called Stringers, and they made cars before the war. Now if you go to the museum at Cullum Island, there's a Stringers car in there. I think it's the only one left in the world, I'm sure. There must be one or two somewhere. Yeah. And then we all my brothers and sisters all went to the same school. No, I beg your pardon. They all went to school, my brothers and sisters. I went in the army. Got married when I was 26, and then I started on mine. But the house that we lived in, there was no toilets. There was no hot water. There was no, what can I say, little comforts. All we had was a black kitchen stove, do you know what I mean?
I can imagine.
And a fire that you had to make with coal.
Had proper winters then as well.
Yes, and that was the worst. We survived the worst winter, which in 47. 1947, the worst winter this country's ever seen for many, many years. You know nothing to people. And it was it started snowing on the 23rd of January, because my birthday is on the 22nd, and I wrote for 6 weeks the temperature never got above freezing, and it snowed every day, so you can imagine calamity. And we was really struggling. No coal.
Why? Because the coalmen couldn't get there.
No milk at school. No coal, because the trains was cut off. No milk at school. Couldn't get the milk out of Derbyshire. No fuel whatsoever, no gas. And it was really dire. Really dire. But everybody but same around us. As I said, if you go back with no toilets in house, what we had was a toilet house in the middle of the yard.
For all of the families?
For all the families. There were 1, 2, 3. You had a key, and you used that. You shared with someone else, and that's how it. Every time I wanted to go, you had to get your shoes on and run across the yard to the toilets.
Did it force you to get on with all the people in your court, or was there some
With no option.
rivalries and-
You had no option. You had to get on.
Do you remember their names, the other families?
Mr. Birchall's Rebels. Mr. Birchall, he was an old guy. Mr. Revel, he was an older guy. Rebels again, Mr. Bowater. That one. 6 in one yard. Mr. Wilkes, who lived over the road, Mr. Morris.
I've heard stories that a lot of people married within their court.
Not.
You'd meet people, meet their girlfriends in the local area.
They probably did, but me being young, it never crossed my mind, or when, you know, I got other things to do when I was 12, 13 or whatever. You didn't get no sex education or anything like at school.
What did your father do?
My father was in the army. My father was in the Depression, and he got very little work, hard struggling. So when the war broke out, he was called up for the army. But my father, being what he was, said they didn't want me when there was no work, so I'm not going in the army. So he deserted. When he deserted, and he kept coming to our house, seeing more than father, the military police was on his tail. So what they did, I can remember, my father put me over this wall, and I walked at the end, and there was an entry. I looked up the street. My older sister, she went down to the other entry, and she looked down the street. Not because she wanted to look at scenery, we were waiting for the military police. See, and they were after him, and they finally got him, finally nabbed him. Finally got him, and I could
Did
see
he have
him.
a hiding
And I
place
can,
in your house?
did he?
Have a hiding place?
No, he kept coming. We had nowhere to hide, only in the cellar. We hadn't got no cupboard, we weren't a cupboard in the house. And they got him, and I could see him getting washed and shaved at the kitchen sink. And two big military police, and they are big men, just at the side of him. And my mother saying to him, and his name was Arthur, Arthur, you've got to behave yourself, I can't have this thing. And he was having to say, yeah. And they took him away in handcuffs. And they took him to Liverpool. And they took him on board and they chained him to the handrail. And they said to him, now take a good look at this place, Arthur, because it's going to be a few years before you see it. And they took him to Burma. And he had nearly 4 years in Burma.
On the railway?
No, he didn't get captured. They put him in India, and then they sent him up to Burma to
As a
stop.
soldier?
Yeah, had to go then.
How was he when he got home?
How was I? We were away 3.5 years, something like that. So that got me from, I don't know. I must have seen him when I was about maybe 11 or 12, I can't.
Yeah.
I'm trying to put it on here, I can't.
And how was he? Was he more into the army?
We were a trained man.
Yeah.
He came out, and within 6 months he went back in, because he couldn't handle Civvy Street. He wanted to see, not for him working, no, he wanted to see.
Great.
And, which led to, I'm splitting up, divorcing.
Right.
And, that way, no more, have you got enough?
I
Oh, that's very interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. I just wondered if you knew any, like, if you could tell us anything about going out in Sheffield. Whether you
What, when I
did-
was a lad?
Yeah.
Or what, when I was a teenager?
Teenager.
Oh,
lad,
teenager?
Teenager, yeah.
Right, when I left school at 15. Naturally, my mother bought me a suit. Went a good one. Did it? It was good. What best money you got? Because clothes were still on ration, on coupons.
Yeah.
Could only get a pair of trousers if you had coupons.
Was this in the 50s?
Yeah, early 50s. 1950.
What was a good night out like in Sheffield?
52, the rationing was still on. Used to go out in the city. Not to Sheffield, we used to go to Rotherham, which were nearer. Cheaper anyway in Rotherham. Go on there and dance halls.
What sort of music? Did you see they had dance bands? But
They did have dance bands there. You only had to dance, otherwise you don't get a dance. You had to learn, otherwise you wouldn't get a dance. As I got a bit more money, I got better suits, and then came off rationing, and then you could get practically what you wished. But by the time I got to 18, It's all gone. Took me in. Took me in the army and that was it. I didn't wear a suit for only a khaki suit. And I didn't wear one, well, 2 years later, when they sent me out. So dancing, used to go to the old Roxy Picture House, which is near. You mentioned the road there.
And Marshall.
El Marshall. Down near the Page Hall. Do you know the Page Hall Picture House? The old picture hall, the dance.
Yeah, is it still there on the bottom?
Yeah, it's still there on the bottom. That were the rocks. That were the. Well, that rocks, I think. Used to go there Saturday evenings.
Were people well behaved, or was there a lot of...
They were well behaved. They were well behaved. I can't remember much violence happening. Maybe once, but I can't remember it being like it is now. Well, they didn't have drugs or...
Did they have some
And they
gangs,
didn't
though?
drink. They didn't drink because they weren't allowed to sell alcohol in dance halls. Which you might go out and get a quick pint and then come back in because it closed at 11. You know, so you used to have the break. You used to kick off at 7:30 and then go and dance and have a break at 9. Have a cup of coffee or a cup of tea. And then come back and finish it. You were out to the dance hall at 11 o'clock and on your way home.
Right.
And is that it? Have you used all your film up?
I think you've used all the
Yeah,
film
it's
up.
professional.
I think you have.
It's all fascinating stuff.
Is it?
Yeah.